I would like to introduce Dr. David Nieman, who is a professor and director of the Humans Performance Lab of North Carolina Research Campus. Welcome, Dr. Nieman. How you
Hey,
doing
Mike.
today? On our last podcast, we had many people respond to say how much they enjoyed your team's research on exercise. At the end of the podcast, you said you would like to come back and share with us and what you and your team have learned about weight loss.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be glad to share some of that.
Okay, go.
Okay. So, I'm going to start off with a few slides just to make sure we're all thinking the same on some of the basic principles.
Okay. I can see the slides here.
Yep. Okay, good. The first thing that we need to understand is that if you look across the world, and you can see all the countries lined up here, and this is from the World Health Organization, and they're looking at people who have a body mass index of 30 or higher. I'll define that in just a minute, but what it means is you're definitely carrying too much extra fat. And what is just alarming, if you look from 1990 to the present, um, the rates for obesity, they're not just increasing in the United States, which, as you can see, is second in the world for the prevalence of obesity, but it's rising for every country except for France. And even Japan, which used to is they're still the leanest nation on earth, but even they are having more and more obesity in their country. So it's a worldwide problem. And when we look across the centuries, I mean, humans used to be very lean, physically active, eating just what they needed to survive. And today we have high rates of obesity. What I want to quickly answer is why. What is the primary reason for that? Now, first of all, just so everybody understands how we estimate both overweight and obesity, usually in large groups of people, we can get height and weight, and then there's a formula where we can calculate the body mass index. It's just your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. And the bottom line for people is you always want to stay under 25. And these BMI calculators are, you can go anywhere on the internet, type in BMI calculator, put in your height and weight, and quickly see what your BMI. So you want it under 25.
Hmm.
If it's 25 to just about 30, that's called overweight. And then anytime your BMI is 30 or higher is called obesity. So what does that mean? For example, like let's just look at a 5'9" person. That would mean they would weigh 203 pounds.
Okay.
A 5'6" person, it obesity would be 186 pounds and higher. So these are useful ways of helping people understand, are they too heavy or not using the BMI. Now, a lot of people, and this is really unfortunate, um, there's kind of a move by some entities to just accept obesity. People say, well, it's probably not so bad. Let's just not worry about it. We have to worry about it. The reason is after smoking, the worst thing for health is obesity. Now, what you have here, Mike, do you see all of these kind of yellow layers?
Yes.
That's fat.
Okay.
And what people don't know is that about two-thirds of the extra fat, do you see how it's concentrated here in the internal organs?
Yes.
Yeah. And then, though, do you see all this fat? A third of the fat is just under the skin.
Wow.
And so that's the way most humans spread it around, is a lot in the abdominal organ area, but then another third just under the skin. And so then this places a huge burden on the heart, the liver, all of our organs. And so here are all of the complications of obesity. And again, this is why we just can't accept it. Again, next to smoking, this is the worst thing for health. So stroke is more likely, various types of lung diseases, the pancreas, where insulin comes from, Mike,
Yes.
and that's like people with type 1 diabetes have to have insulin. People with type 2 diabetes, some need a little insulin, but the obesity causes what we call an insulin receptor issue. And so then the pancreas gets infected, and then the liver gets very fat. You can see all the fat right
Mhm.
here. That's the liver, Mike, right there. See
Huge.
all that fat right there. So the liver gets very fat. Gallstones are very likely. All types of cancers are more likely in
Wow.
people that have all of this fat on their body. Skin disorders are more likely. Phlebitis, which is basically an infection of the veins in the legs. People, that gets very painful,
Makes your legs swell up.
makes it swell up. Gout, where it starts off in the big toe and it just the joint in the big toe, there's crystals that will form.
Very painful.
Very painful. And then people who are carrying all this fat, they talk about the jolly fat person, but depression is more likely, anxiety is more likely, cataracts more likely, heart disease, as we said, diabetes. Dyslipidemia just simply means high cholesterol, high blood fats are more likely, high blood pressure. And then for pregnant women, they tend to have more issues both with delivery and pregnancy, etc. And then inflammation of the joints, where the cartilage it gets inflamed and wears thin, is more likely.
What does the
So,
fat, does the fat make all of those things? What does it do to contribute to the cartilage, or how does it affect the cartilage?
well, and that's an excellent question, Mike. Is what we know now is that all of this fat tissue, the immune system gets heavily involved and sets up an inflammatory response. Many immune cells migrate to the fat tissue. And in fact, you kind of um, asked the question. You hadn't even seen my slides, but you asked a question that we looked at in a study. So what we did, Mike, is we brought in overweight and obese subjects. You can see one of the subjects there.
Yes.
And then we also brought in just the fittest, leanest runners and athletes,
Hmm.
drew blood samples. And Mike, we had huge numbers, 950 obese people. Okay. So
Wow.
this the huge study.
Huge study.
Average BMI was 31.7. If you look at this woman, she's right about there. And then the average athlete was a 23
Jeez.
BMI. You can see, there's no fat on this guy. So what we looked at, Mike, was which it's called C-reactive protein, CRP. You may have heard of this. Some doctors include it when they run cholesterol and triglycerides. CRP comes out of the liver, and it is an inflammation indicator. It means that the body is inflamed, and inflammation undergirds nearly every one of the diseases that I showed you on that obese slide. And we showed in this huge study, almost 1,000 obese people, their average CRP was 4.93. Anything above a 3, Mike, is terrible. Means heart disease is more likely, cancer is more likely. You want it, what ideal is under 1. In fact, if you look at our lean athletes. We had 383 of them, Mike. So a
Wow.
huge study, less than one. And that's ideal.
Well, how
And
many? That's
mhm,
just amazing, those numbers. No wonder the medical field is so busy.
yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. As we just saw in the first slide, if you look at all the overweight and obese people in the United States, it is now 3 out of 4.
Wow.
Only 1 out of 4, Mike, is below that 25 BMI. 3 out of 4 are above it. And we never, I mean, Mike, you remember growing up in the 1950s and 1960s. I mean, everybody was skinny. You
Yes.
know,
It was
we lived outside. Everybody's running around. You know, we didn't have all of this fast food everywhere. And so then here we are, much older, decades have gone by, and it is now common. It's very common to see heavy people around.
more
And
common than skinny person. When you see a skinny person,
yep,
you're sick.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There's
And
something.
so go ahead.
Go ahead. I mean, the
Yeah,
inflammation here, arthritis you're talking about, and diabetes, and
it
it,
it
it's
it
all that.
is all of all of these diseases, inflammation plays a major role in causing them. Humans were not meant to carry a lot of body fat.
Does the fat have some sort of acid in it or something that?
It's the immune cells. The immune cells migrate in there. Macrophages, neutrophils, other types of immune cells, and all of that fat tissue sets up a what we call a metabolic imbalance, and the immune cells react to it and become very active. We just published a paper showing that the immune cells are very active in the adipose tissue, and that activity causes the inflammation. So
So immune cells aren't made to go to work all the time.
exactly that's exactly what we showed in the study is in these lean types of subjects, the immune cells are very at they're calm and doing
Oh,
their work. When you look at obese people, we found that certain types of immune cells are way too active trying to cope with all of the metabolic disorders that are going on in the body. So it's a losing battle, and
yes.
that's why obese people die early and from all of these diseases.
Wow.
So then what I especially want to get into, and then we're near the end of these slides, is, people want to say, okay, why is this happening in the world? And there's 3 factors that have been looked at. One is genetics. Now, as you know, a lot of people say, well, I'm heavy because of my genes. That's a common thing. Is that the reason we have all of this? Well, we just looked at the historical records. The genes haven't really changed. So most experts say it can play a role with some people, but it is not the major reason. The major reason, and you can see it here in this cartoon, this guy's holding an ice cream cone and a burger
Yeah.
with and all these desserts and stuff. It's high calorie, high fat diets. That's what does it. And I'll show you a little bit slides here, but it's so easy to get a whole bunch of calories, whole bunch of calories when you're eating burgers and dessert. I mean, all of a sudden it's 700, 800 calories that you would have to go running for 7, 8 miles to burn all that up. And it's so easy to bring it in, very difficult to burn it up.
Well, how many calories are you allowed per day?
And we're going to show you a slide, but as a rough rule of thumb, if you look at the average woman, just average, there's a huge range. Most women are gonna need somewhere around 2,000 calories a day. The average man, somewhere around 2,800 calories. But as we'll see, it varies depending on how big you are and your activity. More on that in just a second. And
Okay.
then, insufficient activity. Of course, when we were young, we're all outside being very active. This plays a huge role, but what we'll learn is the power behind this obesity going up is the food, the availability, the easy availability of all of that food. And then we make it worse by sitting around. So let's just look at genetics, here, right? Just look at that kid starting off quite
Yeah.
heavy, right?
Yes.
And so most studies, and there's been a lot of great research, inheritance or genetic influences, we now feel it's about has a 25% effect. So here in this photo down here, you see, it's a very obese woman all the way down to thin. So let's say you lined up 100 people and they are in all shapes and sizes. What the research says is that genes are making some of these people more prone to obesity. It doesn't mean they have to be obese, but they are genetically prone to be heavy people. And then if they tend to eat, they're going to really show it. So out of the 100 people, 25 could claim I have a proneness because of my genes, but they can't blame it. We do know that lifestyle is almost half of the reason. And then, there's many other everything has many factors, but that's roughly the way it's been broken down.
And there's
So
really
what
no excuse, right, for it. There's no excuse.
um every once in a while, like, here's this kid, right? So both of his parents are heavy, and studies show that if both parents are heavy and they have a kid, then they do pass on some genetic tendencies. And over here we say that genetic makeup can make this poor kid more prone to obesity if he doesn't have a good lifestyle.
He could
And so,
he could be born with diabetes even, right? Because of that.
that's right. Yeah, no, well, I mean, it used to be that kids, we hardly ever heard of kids having type 2 diabetes, and now it's become way common because they're starting off so heavy.
No, no.
Yeah. So the number one, the not the top thing, and it's the solution as well, is that we just have to take these types of foods out of our lifestyle. The most important reason is people are just eating too much relative to what they burn in
Yeah.
activity. I mean, it's so easy to just have a whole bunch of calories from these foods. And studies show if you carefully study, and we've done it, others have done it. If you look at obese versus lean people, we just did a huge study where we compared 52 obese people with 52 lean people. The difference in eating was remarkable. The lean people ate more fruits and vegetables. The heavy people ate more red meat and more refined carbohydrates and desserts. And it was very significant that the two groups ate very differently. Heavy people like high fat foods. They tend to binge more often, and they tend to eat fast. We're
Oh,
just telling people, just more fruits and vegetables and whole grains and nuts and seeds. If you have meat, make sure it's lean types of meat. Don't eat so fast. Don't overeat or binge eat. And that's it right there. That's the main thing is I like this cartoon. No, it's not water. You seem to be retaining food.
oh, that is good.
It is
I
good.
like that.
You and I grew up hearing this, right?
Yeah.
Retaining water and the bloat and all of that. And I think this is good. The doctors say now it's the food. It's not water.
I think it's so nice that all these slides really show it easy like this.
Yeah.
I don't know the poll. No, that's a good one.
Well, what I tell my students, because if when you do research and write books, in the end you got to make it really simple. And here it is on one slide. If you put all the research together, and people are trying to do something about their body fat, what we tell people in the battle of the bulge, you have two weapons, only two. You have exercise, you jab with exercise, but the knockout blow is controlling the diet. And Mike, right there, this is it. People need to emphasize their diet control, controlling these high fat foods.
How much
That
should they exercise a day? Like walk a mile or?
so in fact, that you see, you're asking all the questions that are coming up here, and that's exactly the point we're going to make. What we're going to learn here is that the average heavy person should aim for an hour a day of brisk walking or equivalent, Mike. An hour a day is a bit more than what we recommend for non-obese people, but obese people need to put out some extra effort, and we say at least an hour a day. I'll show you that here.
Mhm.
So people, and Mike, this is such a problem. We call this the obesity treatment pyramid. So, you go to the average person, and you and I have family members, and then we have friends who definitely are heavy, and we can tell them, right, the knockout blow is less of that fat food, and then adding on activity, you jab with that and knock it out with diet control. Well, long-term studies show that the majority of people, they don't want to hear this and they don't want to do this. And so then you say, well, there's all these drugs now. And so what about the drugs? Or could I have surgery? And people would rather talk about the drugs and the surgery. Why? Well, it sounds easy, right? Just take a pill or a shot, um, have a doctor go in there and right here. This is, I don't
And
know if you've heard, yeah, the band surgery, or where you basically shut off a large part of the stomach or make it the stomach is basically up here and it fills up very quickly before it passes down. And so that's one option. The drug option, it's gotten more interesting lately because of what they call the GLP-1 agonists. So it's all of these Wegovy, Ozempic drugs that we've seen. And Mike, here's the bottom line on all of this.
Dave, I can't hear you.
Yep. Sorry about that. Yeah. All the experts in this field say that for selected obese people, and who are those? Mainly for very obese people with a lot of medical risk factors or disease. So these are people who are already feeling the consequences, right? The medical consequences. Then experts say, yes, never give up on diet and exercise, but you could add medications to help these people quickly lose weight. Why? Because they're already getting sick from the obesity. And so they have a role. Well, the problem today is I'm sure you've seen and experienced. I mean, a lot of people who are not real obese and who are not medically sick from the obesity are on these new Wegovy and Ozempic drugs. And Mike, here's the problem with drug therapy instead of emphasizing diet and exercise. As I tell my students, when you use a medication, let's just talk about Ozempic. We now know that as soon as people get off of Ozempic, what happens? They
They,
regain the weight. Study after study is showing that. And
because they have to
any
stay
other,
on it all the time. They have to keep doing it forever.
and that's exactly it, Mike, is the what is the new emphasis on Ozempic and Wegovy is you better pretty much accept you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life.
That's expensive too.
It's expensive, and then there's a growing list of side effects
Oh
that can
yeah.
occur. And as I tell my students, is when you get onto drugs, what you're really, really doing is postponing the ultimate decision that you have to make, which is to eat better and exercise more. I mean, that's all you're doing is postponing it. Most people aren't going to stay on those drugs the rest of their life. It's too expensive. It starts to hurt and have side effects. So then you got to get off the drugs.
Wow.
And then you go back to your old diet and everything comes back on. And so it's why not face the decisions straight up
Yeah.
and start changing the lifestyle. The only time I would recommend that a bit would be for people who are already really feeling the risks of obesity.
Wow.
So now you had asked a question um, about how much exercise and calories that you can burn. So what a lot of people don't know is here's a pie chart of the calories that we burn every day. Now, for an average woman, it's about 2,000 calories. For an average man, about 2,800. Well, two-thirds of that, Mike, comes from what we call the RMR. That's the resting metabolic rate. So, Mike, if you sat all day long, your body burns roughly 70 to 80 calories every hour just to stay alive. We call that the resting metabolic rate. Now, 70, 80 calories, that's like one apple.
That's
Okay. One apple keeps you alive for an hour, Mike.
whoa.
People don't know that. Is when you're sitting, the body doesn't need much at all. In fact, research shows that if you had an average light bulb,
Yes.
an average light bulb puts out some heat, as we know. It's the same amount of heat that a human puts out, same wattage, keeping it alive. So, what does it take to keep it alive? Well, our heart is beating, we're breathing oxygen back and forth, um, and the tissues are having to get calories, and things are flowing around. The liver is doing its thing. The brain is thinking. Well, that's only 70, 80 calories every hour. That's all it takes. Very efficient. One apple per hour. And then that's if you sat all day. If you do just the basic amount of activity, you get up and you walk here and there, and you're not doing a whole lot of extra, it accounts for almost a fourth of the energy that's burned in a day. Now, the top athletes in the world, they will burn the equivalent of the RMR. The RMR, for most people, for a woman, it's about 1,200 calories a day, just sitting. If you sat all day, it would add up to about 1,200 calories. If a man sat all day, it's getting up there somewhere around 1,750 calories just sitting.
Wow.
And then the top athletes in the world will burn that much in exercise, greatly adding to the energy expenditure. So, like if a man sitting burns 1,750 calories, he'd have to run 17, 18 miles to match that. And that's what many athletes do, is that much. And then thermic effect of food is after you eat, you know how the intestines start to move and the liver gets involved. So that's called thermic effect of food. This is just processing food takes some calories. So yeah, go ahead.
Sitting, you burn a lot of calories.
Say it again.
But sitting, you don't burn a lot of calories.
Well, I think if you look at per hour, it's like an apple, right? But there's 24 hours, so that's 24 apples, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it starts to add up. And then again, if you tried to match that with exercise, you're running for a man 17, 18 miles a day. So the problem is most people sit, right? So then, a man will burn 1,750 calories or so, sit around and burn another few hundred, right? And then
Yeah.
eat food, and then they eat way too much. It's so easy to eat way more than this, Mike. It's like nothing.
Well, it's a lifestyle change for all of us. When
Yeah.
you gotta, wow,
So here's like a summary. So here's two women.
yes.
The women, they're both 5'7". This woman on the left is 140 pounds. The woman on the right is 190. BMI is 22. That's ideal for a woman. The
Uh,
one on the right is obese, 30, right? 30 is obese. This lady on the left, and again, you can see the difference here. See the difference in the abdominal fat. See
yeah.
the difference in the fat under the skin, right? So the lady on the left has 35 pounds of fat on her whole body. The woman on the right has twice as much.
Oh,
And then we have what is called fat-free mass. That's everything else. Everything else that's bones and muscle and everything. That lady on the left is 105. The lady on the right is 120. The reason is carrying that extra weight. It's like if you put a backpack on, right? This would be like a 35-pound backpack above normal. Then the bones get heavier, the muscles uh, thicken because you're carrying more weight. And so the fat-free mass does go up some. The lady on the left, just sitting all day, would burn 1,387. Well, what a lot of people don't know is the woman on the right, if she sat all day, she would burn a bit more because she has extra muscle and bone from carrying the fat around.
oh,
Now, every pound of fat that's stored means you ate 3,500 calories too much above what you're burning.
a day?
It can be spread out. It can just be that once you get an extra pound of fat that's stored on your body, it meant that somehow you took in 3,500 calories too much above what you were burning.
A lot.
Yeah. And so here, this makes it easy, Mike, is, we want to balance what we take in, the food, with what we burn. That's the goal.
Yes.
So why is it more effective to control the bad food you're taking in? It's because like one piece of chocolate cake is 350 calories. That's roughly 4 miles of brisk walking. You'd have to walk briskly for an hour to make up for that piece of cake. Now, for the average person, what is easier, to walk briskly for an hour or just not to take that piece of cake? See,
Yeah.
so that's where the power is. We have to stop that type of intake.
Yes.
And then, as I mentioned earlier, we want uh, heavy people to put in an hour a day of brisk walking or equivalent. But the problem is most obese people, they're terrible at it. If you ask the average obese person to walk briskly 1 hour a day, is a very small percentage will do it. If they're motivated enough, if they combine that with avoiding cake and burgers, etc., they will lose body fat. We just learned that every pound of fat is 3,500 calories stored. You just reverse that and start burning it up, and it will go.
You think the reason a lot of people don't want to exercise like that after they're obese is because they're depressed, very
It's
depressed?
it's exactly that. It's a vicious cycle where as you get heavy, you do get depressed. At the same time, every movement becomes more difficult. I mean, you're
Not easy
carrying,
to lose
pardon?
weight. It's not easy to lose weight. It's hard.
No, it's very difficult. Most long-term studies, they followed people for 5 years after any kind of a weight loss program, drugs or fasting or anything, diet, special diets. 95% of people return back to where they came from after 5 years. They can do good for a while, a year or so, and then as time goes on, 5 years later, they're right back where they came from. And that's why we tell people is you make the decision now to straighten all of this up, and then slowly enter in, let the fat slowly get off of you, and you'll get down to the lean person you're meant to be. And then because you changed your lifestyle, it'll stay off. It
Yeah.
won't come back. And what we tell heavy people is every movement counts. The real problem is sitting, is we're telling, obese people sit way more than lean people. is just don't sit, just get up. Any movement helps.
Yeah.
Any kind of movement will help.
I hope this all helps everybody.
Yeah. So I tell people in the battle of the bulge, the most effective strategy is controlling your diet, what goes into you. Exercise can help, but what exercise is especially good for is it is medicine for health. I mean, exercise lowers heart disease, it lowers diabetes, it lowers cancer. So I tell people exercise may not burn a lot of calories, it burns some, but what it's really doing for you is making you healthier and helping you avoid those diseases.
Oh, that's so interesting. When I have three questions here from people that watched your last podcast, and I told them I'd ask these questions for them.
Yeah.
You answered a lot of it already on your slides and stuff, but this one person says, I'm a male, 70 years of age, and I have been on the keto diet since January 1st. I started out weighing 270. I am 5'11". I have lost 50 pounds so far, and I feel so much better. But my cholesterol is very high after I had my blood work done. Is this a common effect with the keto diet? Your cholesterol goes up?
Yep. So just for people who don't know, the ketogenic diet, this all started way back in the 1970s. It There was a guy named Pritikin published a book talking about high protein, high fat diets, and that you should not touch carbohydrates, and that would help you lose weight quickly. And in general, uh, what we've learned over time, you can lose weight on those diets. There's just no doubt about it. But remember the data that I shared with you, if you follow those people over time, they can't keep on the keto diet. The reason is it's very unhealthy. The reason the cholesterol doesn't go down a whole lot, it goes down in some people as they lose weight, but the problem is all of that meat fat is then affecting the liver's production of cholesterol. So what we tell people is the keto diet may help in the short term, but it's not the long-term solution. The long-term solution is to eat a balanced, healthy diet. And we know that the lowest calorie foods are fruits and vegetables and whole grains and mixed nuts and vegetables and all of that. That should be the foundation of a healthy diet with just a little bit of low fat meat. The keto diet is based on a false premise, and you can have early success, but not long term success.
Okay, here's another question. I am a 70-year-old man. My height is 5'5", and I weigh 250. I'm pre-diabetic and I have sleep apnea and emphysema. And my doctor I was going to ask my doctor to put me on Ozempic, but after seeing your slides and stuff, I'd say no, right?
But see, so this is an individual who is already very obese
Yes.
and experiencing many medical complications already.
Yes.
This is an individual that most experts would say go on it for X amount of time, 3 to 6 months,
Yeah.
experience some success, get the weight down, and then enter into a new lifestyle for the rest of your
He
life.
also has severe arthritic in his bottom disc in his back, which makes it really hard for him to walk.
Yeah, so this is where diet's the power. If he starts straightening up the diet, but he can use drugs for to get a kick start.
Like goes
And
that
then yeah, but then get off of it after 3 to 6 months and
because his
change the
family,
diet.
his family is all died at 72 and 75 of diabetes. He's
Yeah,
pre-diabetic, so he doesn't have it yet. But
yeah,
Ozempic was sort of made for diabetes, wasn't it?
that's right. Yep, yep. It'll help him get a kickstart. But what I do think about this whole thing is many of the symptoms, the aches and pains and the back problems and arthritis, etc. Those symptoms lessen as you lose weight. I mean, losing weight is the most powerful medicine for reversing disease. I mean, it really, really knocks down cholesterol. It knocks down all the other blood fats. It knocks down
Mhm.
inflammation. It reduces joint pain. So the if I was his doctor, I would go through a step one, step two approach and get him down as quickly as possible with his weight.
And another final question is from a man in Virginia. He's had multiple back surgeries and he's bedridden and he cannot exercise at all due to his disability, but he's overweight. How can someone like that lose weight? Or you can't really even, can't
Yep.
move.
Yep. So step one again with him is we know that diet control would help him lose weight. Or, uh, I don't know what his degree of obesity is. If he's real obese, um,
5'11" and he weighs 205. So he's
okay. So
not
he's not really a candidate for drugs or anything. So,
bad.
if he straightens up his diet, eats better, that's step one. But then there are many things he can do for exercise, like um, go in the pool, and then with a physical therapist, you can go what they call it water aerobics, and you can do movements in the pool that won't cause pain,
Good
but
point.
it'll improve joint motion, some strength and endurance. So there are many things he could do, but he should line up with a physical therapist. They are experts in doing this type of thing.
Well, Dr. Nieman, this is so much fun. I learned so much, and I hope everybody else did too. I mean,
Yep,
that's amazing. You
yep.
know, maybe we can come back again and do something again.
Oh yeah, we have many other topics we can talk about.
Thank you, and I'm sure everybody here thanks you too.
All right,
So,
thanks, Mike.
bye-bye.
Yep, see ya.